Alright, so it's Steve here, back with another foreign comic market report. So we'll get started here with a Spider-Gwen Ghost Spider 1 from Mexico. This one sold for $75, which is less than what the German has been selling for lately, which I think is getting pretty close to $150. But you also have to remember that the German is printed or limited to 333 copies. So I'm not sure what the print run is on these Mexican editions, but I don't think it's anywhere as small as that. So yeah, for this cover, I think probably the German's going to be the one to go after. All right, the Wolverine 13 La Mole exclusive. This is the J. Scott Campbell cover. Sold for $189 near mint. Looks like it's in pretty good shape. Maybe a spine tick there, but not too bad. So that's not a bad price, and you could probably have someone in Mexico find you one cheaper, but you got to have those connections. So for someone to get this on the American market, that's not too bad of a price. Batman Adventures 12 from Spain. This one looks pretty rough, but had 19 bids and hit $90. For whatever reason, these just don't pop up on the Spanish market anymore. I'm not really sure why. They very rarely are for sale in Spain, and I feel like this might be one of those comics where there's more of these in America than there are actually in Spain. For whatever reason, this one was picked up pretty quick by American collectors pretty early on. So I check daily to see if any come up on the Spanish marketplace, and I don't really see any come up. So $90, not a terrible, not a terribly high price, but the book is in fairly kind of low grade, it looks like. This one was kind of surprising to me. Thor 337 from Spain. This is more of like a magazine-sized book, first beta ray bill. This one sold for $140, and I feel like this one you could still find, on this, in Spain or on the Spanish marketplace online for, maybe $30, $40, $50 shipped. But this person maybe just didn't have the ability or didn't want to search for the comic on their own, so they just bought it off American eBay and didn't mind paying $140 for it. A lot of times these Spanish comics will have the price stickers stuck to the covers, so you got to kind of be aware of that. But yeah, if you're real careful, you can sometimes pull those off. So this was actually a Brazilian auction site that a buddy of mine in Brazil that's gotten me a lot of books showed me. He said that the comic prices in Brazil are astronomically higher than they were 2 years ago. So this X-Men from, I think, it says 1969. This X-Men sold for 1,800 real, which is equivalent to, I think, around $300. So this book, probably a year or two ago, you could have found it for less than probably $50. But I think the pressure of the kind of foreign comic market, and also just more people becoming interested in their own indigenous comics, is really kind of squeezing all of the foreign markets, and we're seeing it in almost every market. The books that were $30, $40, $50 3 years ago are now selling for $200, $300, $400. So it's something that's going to affect prices here in America, because really these foreign prices have some input on what the American buyers are paying. I know some it's really hard to price foreign books. Some buyers just go, or some sellers just put a sky high number on it and hope to get the best offer possible, and others try and how I typically sell books is I just basically figure out what I paid for it to get it here, what it cost me to get it shipped here, and normally I'll ask for about twice that, and normally that's still way cheaper than most people are asking for their foreign comics. This book, $300, might sound like a steal in another 5 years, where it could be selling for $1,000 or even more. So interesting to see what's going on in the foreign market. This is a Tomb of Dracula 10. German, sold on eBay, 3.0, so kind of low grade for $120. Still a solid sale. There was a higher grade one I think that sold for $200 or $299 a few weeks ago, or maybe even a month ago, and then there's still that crazy CGC copy that sold for like $2,300, which still doesn't really make much sense to me. These can still be found, on the German market. If you're willing to hunt for your own books, you can still find these out there. Swedish Star Wars 68, $80, pretty strong price for the condition it's in, but Sweden can be tough to crack. There's a website called Tradera that does have a lot of the Swedish key comics for sale, but between translating and shipping and getting your username to work, which I've always struggled to get mine to work, that makes things hard. So sometimes it's just easiest to buy stuff off American eBay. Here's another Swedish Golden Age, Batman 2 from 1951, sold for $217. Kind of a goofy cover, Batman and Robin, but just a fun old book. Here's a FINNISH Fantastic Four #1 from 1982. It's kind of a cool book with that red border, and the title looks kind of interesting. Sold for $199. These just don't really come up for sale anymore, and FINNISH books tend to be pretty tough to find. So probably not a bad price. These could have been found a few years ago for cheaper, but I haven't really seen too many hit the market over the years. Tales of Suspense 39 from Germany, sold for $251. It looks to be in pretty nice shape, so that's probably on the American market, that's not a bad deal. I know these have been very difficult to find on the German market, so you really got to just pretty much check every single day or every couple days to see if one comes up for sale. And now the foreign sellers are realizing that more people are interested in these books, so now everything is going to auction, whereas before they used to just price it. They would say 30, 40, 50 euros, and it would just if you were the first to find it, you got a great deal on it. But now a lot of stuff is just going straight to auction, so now they're having people battle it out. So $251 on the American market, not a bad price, and that one looks pretty decent. Superman Batman 4 from Germany. This is the first time this Michael Turner cover or art was used on a cover. I'm not exactly sure what it was numbered to. It was limited to a certain number, but they actually wrote it on the back in pen, so that's why it gets the green label. But it's a beautiful book. I was interested in this book, but not really at that price. I'd rather find one that's like a 9.0 or something like that and pay significantly less, or just get a raw one. But it's a good looking book. It's just a Danger Girl 1 Go-Go variant from Germany, sold for $89. This one is not a bad price, because this is an Italian kind of a Punisher reprint, first appearance, Spider-Man 129. But these have gotten pretty difficult to find on their own. And even 5 years ago, these used to sell for 20 euros, plus you had to ship it from Italy. So basically, this one looks like it's in America or somewhere close, because it's only $5 shipping, and really it's only $10 more than what it would cost to ship from Italy. So really, and this was a steal, at this price, because you couldn't get it shipped from Italy for but that price, really, or close to that price. So not a bad deal. Someone that's building this 129 set, someone I'm sure was happy to find that. Spider-Man 4 from Italy, sold for $40, and here you see it's $25 shipping from Italy, so that, almost doubles the price of the book almost. Werewolf by Night 1. These you can still find on Italian eBay if you look, and normally for $5 to $10. plus the $25 shipping from Italy. But it might be a good book if you're looking for that one to hunt. If you've never bought a foreign book on a foreign marketplace, something like this would be a safe bet. I would say definitely using like German, Italian eBay, French eBay. Those are you're still covered with the buyer protection, so it's it's a good place to start and kind of get your feet wet. Here's like a few high-grade Italian Star Wars. They all sold for $100. These, would be pretty difficult to find in that condition. So especially those are all black covers. So 9.2, that's definitely a high grade for those. Here's the Lethal Protector Venom 0 Italian Platinum cover. So this one is still in the shrink wrap with the phone, like the phone book inside. And you can see how that phone book can kind of slide around in there over the years and can really damage the cover. So I would prefer to find one without the phone book, because otherwise you really just don't know what's under that phone book. But this one sold for $280. It's a pretty high price, but these have just kind of steadily gotten more and more kind of eyes on them and more people interested in them, so they the price is going up, as most things do. This one seemed like a pretty low sale for this Italian Delato Spider-Man cover. I'm pretty sure I reported on a raw Mexican version selling for about $150 last market report, and I think an Italian sold for like $75. So for a CGC 9.4 for $102, that seems like a steal to me. But someone's happy with that book, and probably the seller's not too happy with how that turned out. As the Batman and Joker Delato from France. I think this one was a pretty cheap price also, because I think this one you can't even really find it in France at that price. I'd have to look. It's been years since I looked for one, but seems like a pretty good deal to me. So these are kind of funny French books with the originally drawn covers. They're magazine sized, with a square bound, oversized format, but this has the Adam Warlock kind of story in it. It sold for $55, which it really isn't a terrible price. But look at that shipping price, $2.99 all the way from France. So this is kind of like the gambling shipping that you can get from France, that maybe it'll show up, maybe it won't, but if you're buying on eBay, you're covered with the money back guarantee, and if that's the only shipping they offer, that's kind of what you're stuck with. But it's going to take about a month to get to you if it shows up at all. I think I've used this shipping method probably 100 times, and I think I've probably had like maybe 5 or 6 packages just not show up at all. So it is a gamble, but typically it will show up. Here's a couple French-Canadian X-Men, not really keys or anything, but they're sold for $28, which is not a bad price. I know I've heard a couple of the keys, like the X-Men 101 and the Giant Size X-Men, have been selling for much more money lately, which is good, and they're good keys. They don't use the Giant Size X-Men doesn't use the cover, it uses the splash page, so it's kind of a unique book. And I was able to find both of my 101 and my Giant Size X-Men for I think around $30, maybe about a year ago. But those were probably a seller in Canada that didn't realize that he was selling kind of the key books for very cheap. Now they're selling for significantly more. So I'm happy to have found them when I did. So here's an instance where the seller, again, didn't put the correlating American title, so they just used the French title, Special Strange 12. Had they used anywhere on here X-Men 101, this book, they could have sold it for 3 times that amount or more, 4 times probably. But they stuck with just the French title and a cheap price, so they, I guess maybe they didn't know what they had there, but it was a great deal for somebody. This is Hulk 340 from the Netherlands. This price kind of surprised me, but maybe this edition is just real rare. I'm not sure. I don't really collect too many of the Hulk 340s, but I know there's a number of guys building the set, and this one almost looks like a kind of like a trade paperback size. It looks a little bit thicker with a square bound spine. So I'm wondering if maybe this one's like a collected issue, which is maybe tougher to find, and that's why it's sold for the higher price. This was a kind of a steal. It's the full Spanish run, basically, of the Bruguera Star Wars comics, and normally just the number one alone will sell for $100, even in low grade. So someone scored on this deal. Definitely for $95 plus $30 shipping. They get the complete run. That's definitely a good deal there. Here's a Spider-Man 300 sold for a good price, $199. These weren't the rarest or aren't the rarest books, but they can be tough to find and really high grade. It's printed in 1988, kind of a magazine format. So yeah, $199. I think that's a pretty good deal. Someone was happy with that, and looks like a pretty nice copy too. Edge of Spider-Verse 2. So this is the Mexican land variant. So I think I've gone over this almost probably every market report. The ups and downs of this book. I think I had one last market report that sold for $60, and here we have one that sold for $120. So doubled in price in 1 week. So like I said, these are just like a yo-yo. Some are selling high, some are selling low. Just kind of, if you're patient, you could probably find one on one of those lower sales and get a good deal. Shazam from Mexico, number 1, 1973, NOVARO. Pretty nice looking copy. Maybe a little bit of tanning on the cover, but for a book from 1973 for Mexico, it definitely looks to be in nice shape. $100, seems like a fair price for that book. I think I had one that was in lower grade that I traded, or I might have sold. I can't quite remember, but they're definitely not the most common book you'll find. Another J. Scott Campbell one, which is number 13 in Mexico. This is La Mole. This one sold for $160. So here's a Superboy 68 NOVARO. This is the first appearance of BIZARRO, and this is definitely a tough book to find from Mexico. This one, it's hard to tell from this, but it was actually pulled from a bind. So it has, might not even have staples in it anymore, and it has kind of a torn up spine, but definitely an old book and a rare book, and I think this was from 1962 or even maybe 1959. So it's an old book, old key. So if I didn't have one already, I would have jumped on this for sure at that price. And here we have the Fantastic Four number 1 from Mexico, but this one is, I think, from the 80s. I think maybe early 80s. I kind of like the different color combinations on the cover. Sold for $2.99, which is maybe a little high for the condition, but not a terrible price. Unless you know somebody in Mexico, you're not going to be able to find these very easily. The thing with these, this has a price sticker on the cover, and sometimes people have pulled them off, so you might have a cover tear there. But that's from that price sticker being removed. So here's one I'm a little bitter about, because I watched this pop up on American eBay, and I immediately put a offer in on it for $150, and immediately the seller countered at $175, and of course I was stupid and I got greedy and I offered $165, and a few minutes later someone else accepted the offer for $175. So I missed the book by $10. Definitely a difficult book to find. This one looked, in decent condition. It did say that the staples had been removed, but that wasn't a deal breaker for me. So one day I'll find a NOVARO Action Comics 242, but this wasn't the day for me, I guess. We've got the first Craven from 1969 in Brazil, sold for $60, which seems pretty cheap. they were asking $100. And Brazil is really, not a very easy place to get books out of unless you know somebody there. So, for $60, that seems like a definitely a good price for the Silver Age Spider-Man key. And here we have the first appearance of Black Cat from Brazil, sold for $65. Not a bad deal either. I think I've had a couple of these, and I paid around $30 for them directly from Brazil. So, for about double that, you're buying it on American eBay with eBay buyer protection and all that. So, it's not a bad price. This is Detective Comics 381, a reprint, sold for $29. So this is another one of those digest size Invictus books. So this seller, he's been selling a lot of those. So I guess there is a market for those. And he seems to be making pretty good money selling like the Action Comics 247 and these different Golden Age covers that were redone in the 90s. So $30, not bad when he probably found it for just a few dollars. But hey, it's a book we don't have access to, so I'm sure we're all willing to pay up for them. Japanese Superman Neil Adams cover sold for $40. So it's pretty, to me it's a pretty cool book. I don't own many Japanese books. I think I have like a Star Wars 1 Japanese, and I have a couple of the Japanese Playboy Spider-Man books. So it's just a cool DC key, and it's cool to see it with all this Japanese text all over it. All right, so the more Australian books, Silver Surfer 1, no swap card, sold for $172. To me, not a bad deal when all the other number ones are selling for almost $1,000 with posters and everything. And without posters, most of them are selling for around $300, so this seems like a pretty good price. The Avengers 3, no poster. Another one that's another big key comic, and I don't know if I've ever seen this one come to market really before, but it sold for $203 with no poster. So this is one I maybe planned on bidding, but I think I had spent too much money already and was waiting to kind of sell a few things before I could buy anything else. But Tales to Astonish 13, the UK version, first appearance of Groot, from 1963, sold for $381. I talked to a couple other guys, and they said that was actually a pretty cheap price for that book. 32 bids, so definitely a number of people were interested in it. So this is the Dime Press 4, first appearance of Hellboy from Italy. I showed last week sale for $3,000 for a 9.2 CGC, and this was a really nice condition one that sold for $155. And I thought about bidding on it, but I just don't know much about these books, so I thought it was going to go much higher than this. But $155 seems like a steal, when you could get a grade and possibly, if you get a decent grade, sell for a couple $1,000. It kind of seems like a no-brainer. Howard the Duck by Yaffa, Australian, sold for $52. So I've seen a few of these come up over the last couple weeks now. Spider-Man, first appearance of Green Goblin from Australia, Newton Comics. This is a beautiful cover. This is one I still need. So this is $260, and I think it had the poster in it. So not a terrible price, and it's first appearance of Green Goblin. It's a pretty big key book, so it's cool, just a cool cover with the cool colors, the blues and the yellows. So cool book. So same book, different country. This is the Italian version. This is a 5.0 sold CGC from Italy from 1970, sold for $5.95. That's a pretty strong sale, and you could probably still find these on Italian eBay for under $100. You'd just have to really pick and choose to find like a decent copy. But $5.95 is definitely a pretty strong price for that. Spider-Man 129, the Danish Summer Special, sold for $225. Looks like a real clean copy. So, you know, I think as more and more people are building these sets, you know, the prices are just keep going up. This was a Vampire 1, Marvel Spotlight 5, the flip book, with Marvel Spotlight 5 on the back cover, and the Werewolf by Night 1 on the front cover. This is obviously a pretty low-grade copy, sold for $125. All right, and I think that's it for now. I will keep an eye on more sales over the next couple weeks, and you know, let you guys know what sells and what's going up in price, what's going down in price, or seems like a lot of foreigns just kind of yo-yos in price up and down every week. So you kind of just never know what you're gonna get. All right, have a good night. Bye.